Hi everyone, this is Gloture TOEFL channel. I am Andra, your teacher. Let's start with today's word. Prone. 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 Prone means likely to do, get or suffer from something. Also means lying down. Example, I've always been prone to headaches. The second word is resistant. Resistant means not wanting to accept something. Also means not affected by something. Example, why are you so resistant to change? Championed. 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 Championed means to act as a champion of, to defend, to support. Example, he championed the idea of lowering taxes. Ascribe. 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 Ascribes means to credit or assign as to a cause or source. Also means to attribute or think of as belonging. Example, people like to ascribe human feelings to animals. Autonomous. Autonomous. Autonomous means independent and having the power to make own decisions. Example, yes, it's crazy. Autonomous robots exist. Established. 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 Established means generally accepted or familiar. Example, a system was established to fund presidential campaigns with tax dollars. Penchant. 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 Penchant means a strong inclination, taste, or liking for something. Example, her penchant for disappearing for days worries me. Inclination. 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 Inclination means a preference or a tendency. Example, I have a strong inclination towards music. Compromise. 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 Compromise means an agreement between two sides who have different opinions in which each side gives up something it had wanted. Example, he made a compromise and it saved our relationship. Fragile. Fragile. Fragile means easily damaged, broken, or harmed. Example, be careful with that vase, it's very fragile. Scarce. Scarce. Scarce means rare, not easy to find. Example, cheap diamonds are scarce. Propulsion. Propulsion. Propulsion means the force produced by a system for moving a subject. Example, the wind propulsion almost put me down. Feasible. Feasible. Feasible means possible, reasonable, or likely. Example, it is not longer feasible to fund this research. Devised. Devised. Devised means to invent something, especially with intelligence or imagination. Example, he devised a new way to get over depression. Integral. Integral. Integral means necessary and important as a part of a whole. Example, you are an integral part of the team and we cannot do without you. Arduous. Arduous. Arduous means difficult and tiring. Example, during winter, a trip to the north is an arduous journey. Pales. Pales. Pales means to become lighter than usual in color. Example, he paled when I asked him about his secretary. Fluid. Fluid. Fluid means a substance that flows and is not solid. Also means having a flowing or changing quality. Example, when I am ill, I have to drink lots of fluids. Ensuing. Ensuing. Ensuing means happening after or following something else. Example, ensuing test disclosed an irregular heartbeat. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. Unprecedented means never having happened or existed in the past. Example, We've entered an age of unprecedented prosperity. Inevitable. Inevitable. Inevitable means certain to happen. Example, having a crush on her is inevitable. Inhibits. Inhibits. Inhibits means to take an action that makes something less likely to happen. Example, some states have a rule that inhibits lawyers from talking about their case outside the courtroom. Impatiently. Impatiently. Impatiently means eager for something to happen. Example, I waited impatiently for the new puppy. Rebound. Rebound. Rebound means to return to an earlier and a better condition. Improve. Example, my favorite athlete finds it harder to rebound from injuries. Distinct. Distinct. Distinct means different or noticeable. Example, the dogs are of distinct breeds. Trappings. Trappings. Trappings means all the things that are part of or typical of a particular situation. Example, he enjoyed the trappings of wealth. Adjacent. Adjacent. Adjacent means very near, next to, or touching. Example, they work in adjacent buildings. Sloping. Sloping. Sloping means to go downward or upward at an angle. Example, his slopping handwriting did not help him at all. Inclining. Inclining. Inclining means to lean down. Example, the inclining of her head to whisper something to him was really cute. Foul. Foul. Foul means unpleasant or an act that is against the rules. Means also to pollute something, to make it dirty. Example, they were using a foul language. Facilitates. Facilitates. Facilitates means to make something possible or easier. Example, to facilitate learning, each class is no larger than 30 students. Suspended. Suspended. Suspended means to stop something, either temporarily or permanently. Example, they suspended his Facebook account and he cried for days. Overwhelming. Overwhelming. Overwhelming means very great, difficult to fight against. Example, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief when the school was over. Implement. Implement. Implement means to start using a plan. Example, they refused to pass the bill that would implement tax reforms. Undisputed. Undisputed. Undisputed means about which there is no disagreement. Example, it's an undisputed fact that women live longer than men. Diversification. Diversification. Diversification means varied or different. Example, there's a huge diversification in this market. Rudimentary. Rudimentary. Rudimentary means only basic and not deep or detailed. Example, they've made a rudimentary shelter in a wood nearby. The next word is thorough. 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 Thorough means with nothing left out or omitted. Complete. Also, when used for emphasis, means very great. Example, the doctor gave him a thorough medical examination. Example 2. The meeting was a thorough waste of time. Meticulously. Meticulously. Meticulously means giving or showing careful attention to every detail. Example, she meticulously planned every decorating details. Virtually. Virtually means almost but not quite. Example, virtually everyone gets a headache now and then. Plausible. Plausible. Plausible means possibly true. Example, he had a plausible explanation and he got away. Phenomenon. Phenomenon. Phenomenon means anything that is or can be experienced or felt. Means also something special. Example, he was a kind of phenomenon apart from the others. Occurrence. Occurrence. Occurrence means an event, especially one that happens unexpectedly. Example, break-ins are an everyday occurrence in this neighborhood. Critically. Critically. Critically means in a way that is very bad or serious. Example, he was critically injured in the accident. Subsequently. Subsequently. Subsequently means happening after something else. Example, he was made a partner, but he subsequently retired. Turbulent. Turbulent. Turbulent means full of confusion, moving very strongly. Example, his book discusses the turbulent years of civil rights struggle. Violent. Violent. Violent means using or involving force to hurt or attack. Can also mean very strong too. Example, she was very afraid of him because he's a very violent person. Temperate. Temperate. Temperate means not extreme, within a middle range. Example, the climate here is pretty temperate. Fixation on. Fixation on. Fixation on means the state of being unable to stop thinking about something. Example, Liz has a fixation on food. Fostered. Fostered. Fostered means to take care of a child as if it were your own without being the child's legal parent. Example, a social service agency placed the child with a foster family. Spheres. Spheres. Spheres means a solid shape like a round ball or a range or area of activity. Example, this changes the shape of the cornea from a spoon-like form to a sphere. Diffused. Diffused means to spread or cause something to spread in many directions. To diffuse is also to make something less noticeable or weaker. Example, television is a powerful means of diffusing knowledge. Ritual. Ritual. Ritual means a set of actions or words performed in a regular way. It's also any act done with regularly, usually without thinking about it. Example, my morning ritual includes reading the newspaper while I drink my coffee. Fleeing. Fleeing. Fleeing means to escape by running away, usually because of a danger or fear. Example, fleeing from the cops is not a good idea. Massive. Massive. Massive means very large in size, amount, or degree. Example, whoa, this is a massive building. Sincerity. Sincerity. Sincerity means honest, not false or invented. Example, she spoke with such sincerity, you had to believe her. Predominant. Predominant. Predominant means being the most noticeable or largest in number or having the most power or influence. Example, this neighborhood is now predominantly Hispanic. Principal. Principal. Principal means first in order of importance. It also can mean a person in charge of a school. Example, Iraq's principal export is oil. Aggressive. Aggressive. Aggressive means using strong, forceful methods, especially to sell or persuade. Example, you have to be aggressive if you want to succeed in this business. Fluctuation. Fluctuation. Fluctuation means to change or vary frequently between one level or thing and another. Example, I fluctuate between feeling really happy and utterly miserable. Retreat. Retreat means to move back and away from someone or something, especially because you are frightened or want to be alone. Example, she burst into tears and retreated to the bedroom. Bombard. Bombard. Bombard means to attack a place with continuous shooting or bombs. Example, I was bombarded with phone calls and faxes. Disruption. Disruption. Disruption means an interruption in the usual way that a system, process, or event works. Example, it would cause a tremendous disruption to our work schedule to install a different computer system. Disturbance. Disturbance. Disturbance means something that interrupts you, especially something loud or causing trouble. Example, you must take care of yourself and avoid upsetting disturbances. Relics. Relics. Relics means a surviving memorial of something past. Example, the ship was a relic of the Spanish-American War. Miniature, miniature. Miniature means very small. Example, she has a dollhouse filled with miniature furniture. Inflexible, inflexible. Inflexible means fixed and unable or unwilling to change. Example, some officials think the law is too harsh and inflexible. In spite of, in spite of. In spite of means even though there is something unpleasant or bad happening. Example, in spite of his injury, Ricardo will play in Saturday's game. Isolated, isolated. Isolated means to separate something from other things or to keep something separate. Example, a high wall isolated the house from the rest of the neighborhood. Impetus, impetus. Impetus means a force that encourages a particular action or makes it more energetic. Example, often the impetus for change in education has had to come from the parents. Incentive, incentive. Incentive means something that encourages a person to do something. Example, these kids have no incentive to learn. Justified, justified. Justified means having a good reason for something. Example, okay, I accept the criticism. It's completely justified. Stimulated, stimulated. Stimulated means to encourage something to grow, develop, or become active. Example, tax cuts will stimulate the economy. Flourish, flourish. Flourish means to grow or develop successfully. Example, parts of the lily continue to flourish. Objective, objective. Objective means not influenced by personal beliefs or feelings. Example, I always appreciate more an objective opinion. Unbiased, unbiased. Unbiased means able to judge fairly because you are not influenced by your own opinion. Example, I will try to remain as unbiased as I can. Compelling, compelling. Compelling means persuasive, something that holds your attention. Example, he made a compelling argument. Propagate, propagate. Propagate means to spread ideas among people or to other places. Example, such lies are propagated in the media. Evolve, evolve. Evolve means to change or develop gradually. Example, after all these years, you have evolved a lot. Good for you. Dormant, dormant. Dormant means temporarily not active. Example, that was a dormant volcano. Preserved, preserved. Preserved means to keep something as it is. Example, oranges preserved in brandy. Instigate, instigate, instigate. Instigate means to cause an event or a situation. Example, all these changes were instigated by the new director. Erratic, erratic. Erratic means changing suddenly and unexpectedly. Example, what an erratic schedule. Deliberation, deliberation. Deliberation means considering or discussing something. Example, after much deliberation, she decided to accept their offer. Variation, variation. Variation means change in quality, amount, or level. Example, oh, this prices variation annoys me. Invoked, invoked. Invoked means to call on something or someone, especially God, for help. Also means to cause something to be used, bring into effect. Example, the witness invoked the Fifth Amendment against incriminating himself. Meager, meager. Meager means a very small amount in amount or number. Example, the food at my grandmother's house was meager. Vital, vital. Vital means necessary or extremely important for the success. Example, the kidneys play a vital role in removing waste from the blood. Essential, essential. Essential means necessary or needed. Example, a knowledge of Spanish is essential for this job. Context. Context. Context means the influences or events related to a particular event or situation. Example, we need solutions in the context of changes to the healthcare system. Depict. Depict. Depict means to represent or show something in a picture, story, or movie, or to portray. Example, the movie depicts his father as a tyrant. Portray. Portray. Portray means to represent or describe someone or something in a book or movie. To portray is also the act, the part of someone in a movie or play. Example, Michael Douglas portrays the President of the United States. Perplexed. Perplexed. Perplexed means to cause someone or to be confused or uncertain over something that is not understood. Example, the symptoms of the disease have continued to perplex her doctors. Defeated. Defeated. Defeated means to oppose and cause someone to lose in a competition or war so that you can win. Example, Bill Clinton defeated George Bush for the presidency in 1992. Preposterous. Preposterous. Preposterous means completely unreasonable and ridiculous, not to be believed. Example, it was a preposterous idea and no one took it seriously. Extensive. Extensive. Extensive means covering a large area, having or being a large amount. Extensive also means wide in range and including much detailed information. Example, her knowledge of music is extensive. Foster did extensive research on electromagnetic fields. Discrete. 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 Discrete means separate, not the same thing, and with no parts in common. Example, your left arm and right arm are controlled by two discrete areas of the brain. Revealed. Revealed. Revealed means to make known or show something that is surprising or that was previously a secret. Example, he was jailed for revealing secrets to the Russians. Criteria. Criteria. Criteria means a condition or fact used as a standard by which something can be judged or considered. Example, 8 criteria will be used to select new stadium sites. Altered. Altered. Altered means to change a characteristic, often slightly, or to cause this to happen. Example, the coat was too long, so I took it back to the store and have it altered. Paradox. Paradox. Paradox means a statement or a situation that may be true but seems impossible or difficult to understand because it contains two opposite facts or characteristics. Example, it's a strange paradox that people who say you shouldn't criticize the government criticize it as soon as they disagree with it. Contradiction. Contradiction. Contradiction means a fact or statement that is the opposite of what someone has said or that is so different from another fact or statement that one of them must be wrong. Example, his life was full of contradictions. Accomplishment. Accomplishment. Accomplishment means something done or finished successfully. Example, there's a feeling of accomplishment from having a job and all that goes with it. Parallel. Parallel. Parallel means geometry of two or more straight lines being the same distance apart along all their length. It also means similar or matching. Example, the wood was marked with parallel dark bands. Example, parallel experiments are being conducted in Europe and the United States. Overshadow. Overshadow. Overshadow means to cause someone or something to seem less important or noticeable. Example, Karen has always been overshadowed by her older sister. Drastically. Drastically. Drastically means severe and sudden, extreme. Example, last year Texas drastically cut its family planning funding the same way Mitt Romney says he would cut federal funding. Dweller. Dweller. Dweller means a person who lives in a particular type of place. Example, but picture Ben and Betsy, two city dwellers, neither owning a car. Tribe. Tribe. Tribe means a group of people, often of related families, who live in the same area and share the same language, culture, and history. Example, she has studied Native American tribes from Mexico to Maine. Fracture. Fracture. Fracture means to crack or break something, especially a bone. Example, she fractured her skull in the accident. Crack. Crack. Crack means to damage something by causing thin lines or spaces to appear on its surface, or break slightly. Also means if you crack a code, a message in symbols, you will discover what it means. Example, he fell backward, his head cracking against the tree. Immobile. Immobile. Immobile means not moving or not able to move or be moved. Example, he is in a cast to keep his spine immobile. Motionless. Motionless. Motionless means not moving. Example, he looks made of stone, utterly motionless. Enclose. Enclose. Enclose means to surround, also means to send something in the same envelope or package as something else. Example, the garden is enclosed by 4 walls. Example 2. Please enclose a stamped, self-addressed envelope. Intact. Intact. Intact means complete and in the original state. Example, he emerged from the investigation with his reputation largely intact. Artificial. Artificial. Artificial means made by people, often as a copy of something natural. Also means not sincere. Example, clothes made of artificial fibers, an artificial heart, an artificial leg. Quantifiable. Quantifiable. Quantifiable means able to be measured. Example, the benefits of the new policy are not easily quantifiable. Permanent. Permanent. Permanent means lasting for a long time or forever. Something that is permanent exists or happens all the time. Example, are you looking for a temporary or a permanent job? Periodic. Periodic. Periodic means happening repeatedly in a fixed pattern. Happening repeatedly, although not necessarily frequently. Example, he suffers periodic mental breakdowns. Uniformly. Uniformly. Uniformly means in a uniform manner, a uniformly bright surface or spread, distributed, applied. Example, the book has had uniformly bad reviews. Potent. Potent. Potent means powerful, persuasive, or effective. Example, this is the most potent headache remedy you can get without a prescription. Duration. Duration. Duration means the length of time that something lasts. Example, he planned a stay of 2 years duration. Sustained. Sustained. Sustained means continuing for a long time or determined. Example, the president's speech was greeted by sustained applause. Example 2. We must make a sustained effort to get this task finished this week. Uninterrupted. Uninterrupted. Uninterrupted means without any pauses or interruptions. Example, most people do not get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. Nevertheless. Nevertheless. Nevertheless means despite what has just been said or referred to. Example, I knew a lot about the subject already, but her talk was interesting nevertheless. Persistent. Persistent. Persistent means continuing to exist past the usual time or continuing to do something in a determined way even when facing difficulties or opposition. Example, a persistent cough, persistent rumors. Enduring. Enduring. Enduring means existing for a long time. Example, I shall be left with many enduring memories of the time I spent in India. Exposing. Exposing. Exposing means to make something covered or hidden able to be seen. It also means to publicly show that someone or something is bad or dishonest. Example, he was exposed as a fraud and a liar. Deviate. Deviate. Deviate means to change from the usual way or to go in a different direction. Example, he never deviated from his strict vegetarian diet. Detract. Detract. Detract means to make something seem less valuable or less deserving of admiration. Example, these small faults, however, do not detract from the overall quality of the book. Elaborate. Elaborate. Elaborate means containing a lot of connected parts or many complicated details. Also means to add more information or explain something that you have said. Example, he refused to elaborate on why he had resigned. Delicate. Delicate. Delicate means needing careful treatment, especially because easily damaged, needing to be done carefully. Example, repairing damaged nerves is a very delicate operation. Endowing. Endowing. Endowing means to give a large amount of money to pay for creating a college, a hospital, and so on. Also means to provide an income for it. Example, the state of Michigan has endowed 3 institutes to do research for industry. Profound. Profound. Profound means felt or experienced very strongly or in an extreme way. Example, those 2 lines of poetry express perfectly the profound sadness of loss. Striking. Striking. Striking means very unusual or easily noticed and therefore attracting a lot of attention. Example, she bears a striking resemblance to her mother. The next word is capacity. 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 Capacity means the amount or volume something can hold ability. Example, the hotel is full to maximum capacity. There are no empty rooms. Disastrous. Disastrous. Disastrous means extremely bad or unsuccessful. Example, such a war would be disastrous for the country. Exhausted. Exhausted. Exhausted means extremely tired. Example, by the time they reached the summit, they were exhausted. Prestige. Prestige. Prestige means respect and admiration given to someone or something, usually because of a reputation for high quality, success, or social influence. Example, no one would go into this sort of work for the prestige. Evaluation. Evaluation. Evaluation means the process of judging something's quality, importance, or value, or a report that includes this information. Example, find out how much your property is worth with our free real estate evaluation. Paradoxically. Paradoxically. Paradoxically means in a paradoxical manner, a statement that seems to contradict itself but may nonetheless be true. Example, paradoxically, ice ages seem to occur when the sun gets hotter. Prolonged. Prolonged. Prolonged means continuing for a long time. Example, prolonged use of the drug is known to have harmful side effects. Verify. Verify. Verify means to make certain or prove that something is true or accurate. Example, the report could not immediately be verified. Criticize. Criticize. Criticize means to express disagreement with or disapproval of something or someone. Example, it's a lot easier to criticize a plan than to offer useful suggestions. Attributes. Attributes. Attributes means a quality or feature of a person or thing, especially one that is an important part of its nature. Example, self-confidence is a rare attribute in a 17-year-old. Example 2. She has the physical attributes to become a championship swimmer. Feat. Feat. Feat means an act that shows skill, strength, or bravery. Example, getting the house painted was quite a feat. Complex solution. Complex solution. Complex solution means involving a lot of different but related parts as an answer to a problem. Example, the problem we have is very big. We need a more complex solution to solve it. Bulk. Bulk. Bulk means something very large or in a large amount, not divided into smaller parts. Example, we buy a lot of our groceries in bulk to save money. Deceiving. Deceiving. Deceiving means to persuade someone that something false is the truth or to keep the truth hidden for someone for your own advantage. Example, the company deceived customers by selling old computers as new ones. Exaggerated. Exaggerated. Exaggerated means to make something seem larger, more important, better, or worse than it really is. Example, the media exaggerate the risks and benefits of research findings. Static. Static. Static means staying in one place without moving or not changing for a long time. It can also mean noise on a radio or television caused by electricity in the air. Example, oil prices have remained static for the last few months. Example 2. There's so much static on this radio, I can't hear what they're saying. Interlocked. Interlocked. Interlocked means to join together firmly, especially by fitting one part into another. Example, the edges interlock to form a tight seal. Frozen. Frozen. Frozen means of water turned into ice or of food preserved by freezing. If a person or a part of their body is frozen, they are very cold. Example, we don't have any fresh vegetables, only frozen peas. Intermediate. Intermediate. Intermediate means being between two other related things, levels, or points. Example, there are 3 levels of difficulty in this game: low, intermediate, and high. Markedly. Markedly. Markedly means obvious or noticeable. Example, there was a marked improvement in my health when I started exercising. Noticeably. Noticeably. Noticeably means easy to see or to recognize. Example, there has been a noticeable improvement in Tim's cooking. The next word is exclude. 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 Exclude means to not include, to not put in a list or a group. Example, I eat almost anything, excluding spicy foods. I don't like spicy food. Superior to. Superior to. Superior to means better than average or better than other people or things of the same type. Example, for babies, breastfeeding is superior to bottle feeding. Postulated. Postulated. Postulated means to suggest or accept that a theory or idea is true as a starting point for reasoning or discussion. Example, astronomers postulate that the comet will reappear in 4,000 years. Hypothesized. Hypothesized. Hypothesized means to give a possible but not yet proven explanation for something. Example, there's no point hypothesizing about how the accident happened, since we'll never know. Interplay. Interplay. Interplay means the action between two or more things or the effect they have on each other. Example, the interplay of light and shadow in a photograph. Sequence. Sequence. Sequence means a series of related things or events, or the order in which things or events follow each other. Example, the first chapter describes the strange sequence of events that led to his death. Analogous. Analogous. Analogous means similar in some way. Example, the experience of mystic trance is in a sense analogous to sleep or drunkenness. Authority. Authority. Authority means the power to control or demand obedience from others. Authority is someone with official responsibility for a particular area of activity. Example, The police have no legal authority in these disputes. Example 2. No attacks were reported to authorities. Ethic. Ethic. Ethic means a system of accepted beliefs that control behavior, especially such a system based on morals. Example, our school promotes an ethic of service to the community. Intrinsically means to describe things that are vital or important. Example, great teachers are intrinsically associated with a great school. Repudiate. Repudiate. Repudiate means to refuse to accept or obey something or someone. To reject. Example, the evidence presented at the trial has since been repudiated. Revise. Revise. Revise means to change or correct something, especially a piece of writing. Example, with the final exam, you don't revise it after the teacher reads it. Consensus. Consensus. Consensus means generally accepted opinion, wide agreement. Example, they're trying to build a consensus on the need to improve the city's schools. Devastate. Devastate. Devastate means to cause great damage or suffering to something or someone or violently destroy a place. Example, waves of corporate downsizing have devastated employee morale. Inadvertently. Inadvertently. Inadvertently means done or happening unintentionally. Example, that was an inadvertent mistake. Unintentionally. Unintentionally. Unintentionally means not planned or intended. Example, if I said something to offend you, I swear it was unintentional. Obstruction. Obstruction. Obstruction means the condition of being blocked so that things cannot move through easily. Law obstruction of justice is the act of preventing the police or law courts from doing their job. Example, obstruction of justice is the crime of trying to stop police from learning the truth about something. Resistance. Resistance. Resistant means the act of fighting against something that is attacking you or refusing to accept something. Means also the degree to which a substance prevents the flow of electricity through it. Example, government troops offered no resistance. Derive. Derive. Derive means to get or obtain something. Example, the institute derives all its money from foreign investments. Imitate. Imitate. Imitate means to copy someone's speech or behavior or to copy something as a model. Example, my 4-year-old daughter is always trying to imitate her older sister. Inflating. Inflating. Inflating means to cause an object to increase in size and shape by filling it with air or gas, or of an object to become larger as a result of this process. Example, airbags in cars are designed to inflate automatically on impact. Impediment. Impediment. Impediment means something that makes progress or movement difficult or impossible. Example, the lack of funds is a major impediment to research. Perceive. 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 Perceive means to be aware of, to sense or feel. Example, if hunters are skilled, the animals will not perceive their presence. Refine. Refine. Refine means to make a substance pure by removing unwanted material. Example, sugar and oil are refined before use. Conspicuous. Conspicuous. Conspicuous means easily noticed, obvious. Example, he was conspicuous as usual with a big yellow bow tie. Pursue. Pursue. Pursue means to follow, to chase, to try to achieve a dream or goal. Example, what do you pursue as your final goal? Stimulus. Stimulus. Stimulus means something that causes growth, activity, or reaction. Example, scientists are studying the cell's response to stimuli. Obstacle. Obstacle. Obstacle means something that blocks your way so that movement or progress is prevented or made more difficult. Example, we suddenly encountered an obstacle along the trail. Electrifies, electrifies. Electrifies means to equip with electricity. Example, they recently electrified this part of the railway line. Initiate, initiate. Initiate means to cause something to begin. Example, who initiated the violence? Intensive, intensive. Intensive means needing or using great energy or effort. Example, we're in the midst of intensive negotiations. Acquire, acquire. Acquire means to obtain or begin to have something. Example, his family acquired the property in 1985. Obtain, obtain. Obtain means to get something, especially by a planned effort. Example, she was finally able to obtain legal possession of the house. Illuminate, illuminate. Illuminate means to put light in or on something. Example, the buildings were illuminated at night. Empirical, empirical. Empirical means based on what is experienced or seen rather than on theory. Example, we have no empirical evidence that the industry is in trouble. Tremendous, tremendous. Tremendous means great in amount, size or degree, extremely large. Example, she is under tremendous pressure at work. The next word is deduce, deduce, deduce. Deduce means to come to a conclusion through logic and evidence to figure out. Example, by analyzing the bones, we can deduce when the animal lived and how it died. Partial, partial. Partial means not complete. Example, he made a partial repayment of the loan. Flaw, flaw. Flaw means a fault or weakness, especially one that happened while something is being planned or made and that makes it not perfect. Example, a flaw in the steering mechanism led to a recall of 200,000 cars. Trigger, trigger. Trigger means a part of a gun that causes the gun to fire when pressed. Also means to cause something to start. Example, I triggered the smoke alarm when I burned the potatoes. Extraordinary, extraordinary. Extraordinary means very unusual and special. Different in type or greater in degree than the usual or ordinary. Example, she was an extraordinary woman and no one will ever forget her. Abolish, abolish. Abolish means to put an end to something, such an organization, rule, or custom. Example, Canada voters abolished rent control. Progressive, progressive. A progressive disease is one that gets increasingly worse. Also can mean progressive ideas or system encourage change in society or in the way things are done. Example, she worked for women's rights and other progressive causes. Suppress, suppress. Suppress means to end something by force. Also means to prevent something from being expressed or known. Example, he either has to begin reforms or he has to suppress the opposition. Friction, friction. Friction means the force that works against an object as it slides along the surface of another object or moves through a liquid or gas. Also means disagreement or dislike caused by people having different opinions. Example, a gasoline engine loses over 70% of its energy to friction and heat. Rebellion, rebellion. Rebellion means violent action organized by a group of people who refuse to accept their government's power and are willing to use force to oppose it. Also means feeling of strong disagreement with an organization or with people in authority. Example, many students were in rebellion against the older generation. Neglect, neglect. Neglect means to fail to give needed care or attention to someone or something. Example, He neglected to tell his employer that he would be taking the day off. Entitled. Entitled. Entitled means to give someone the right to do or have something. Also means to give a title to a book, movie, and so on. Example, he is entitled to his opinion even if you don't agree with him. Circumstance. Circumstance. Circumstance means an event or condition connected with what is happening or has happened. Example, the circumstances of the theft of the painting were not known. Substantiate. Substantiate. Substantiate means to show something to be true or to support a claim with facts. Example, they have enough evidence to substantiate complaints of vandalism. Publicize. Publicize. Publicize means to make information available about something or someone. Example, Luna has helped publicize the problem of homelessness. Tendency. Tendency. Tendency means a likelihood to happen or to have a particular characteristic or effect. Example, she has a tendency to work late. Legitimately. Legitimately. Legitimately means allowed according to the law or reasonable and acceptable. Example, a legitimate tax, deduction, legitimate concerns. Accumulation. Accumulation. Accumulation means an amount of something that has been collected. Example, accumulations of sand can be formed by the action of waves on coastal beaches. Deposit. Deposit. Deposit means an amount of money paid into account, also means a layer, a substance. Example, she made a large deposit last Saturday. Heterogeneous. 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 Heterogeneous means consisting of parts or things that are very different from each other. Example, Switzerland is a heterogeneous confederation of 26 self-governing cantons. Layered. Layered. Layered means a thin sheet of a substance on top of a surface, or a level of material that is different from the material on either side. Example, a thin sheet of a substance on top of a surface, or a level of material that is different from the material on either side. Resemble. Resemble. Resemble means to be similar to someone or something. Example, several of the women resemble one another closely enough to be sisters. Fringes. Fringes. Fringes means the outer or less important part of an area, group, or activity. Also means as verb to form a border around the edge of something. Example, there is some industry on the fringes of the city. Proliferation. Proliferation. Proliferation means to increase greatly in number or amount, usually quickly. Example, amusement and theme parks are proliferating across the country. Cooperation. Cooperation. Cooperation means the act of working together with someone or doing what they ask you. Example, there's a very little cooperation between the two countries. Superseded. Superseded means to replace something older, less effective or less important or official. Example, wireless broadband could supersede satellite radio one day. The second word is equaled. Equaled. Equaled means the same in amount, number or size. Example, divide the class into equal groups. Divert. Divert. Divert means to cause something or someone to turn in a different direction. Example, our flight was diverted from San Francisco to Oakland because of the fog. Momentous. Momentous. Mementos means very important, especially because of the effects on future events. Example, a momentous decision, a momentous event. Inhabit. Inhabit. Inhabit means to live in a place. Example, these remote islands are inhabited only by birds and animals. Cramp. Cramp. Cramp means a sudden, painful tightening of a muscle. Example, he suffered from stomach cramps. Confine. Confine. Confine means to keep someone or something within limits. Also means if something is confined to a particular group of people, it exists only among them. Example: let's confine our discussion to the matter in question, please. Primitive. Primitive. Primitive means of or typical of an early stage of development, not advanced or complicated in structure. Example: the pioneers who settled the West had to cope with primitive living condition. Abruptly. Abruptly. Abruptly means sudden and not expected, often with unpleasant results. Also means not friendly or polite, showing little interest in talking to other people. Example: there was an abrupt change in her mood. Enhance. Enhance. Enhance means to improve the quality, amount, or strength of something. Example: the marinade enhances the flavor of the fish. Precise. Precise. Precise means exact and accurate in form, time, detail, or description. Example: the precise recipe is a closely guarded secret. Prospect. Prospect. Prospect means the possibility or likelihood that something will happen. Example: losing the elections is a prospect that still appears unlikely. Practical. 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 Practical means relating to actual experience or to the use of knowledge in activities rather than to knowledge only or ideas. Example: I know you've been trained as a teacher, but do you have any practical teaching experience? Plentiful. Plentiful. Plentiful means if something there is plentiful, there is a lot of it available. Example: strawberries are plentiful in the summer. Abundant. Abundant. Abundant means more than enough, a lot of. Example: it is a region with abundant natural resources. Exploit. Exploit. Exploit means a brave, interesting, or an unusual act. Also means to use something for your own benefit. Example: the two companies joined forces to exploit the potential of the internet. Contention. Contention. Contention means disagreement resulting from opposing arguments. Example: their refusal to sign the treaty remains a source of contention between the two countries. Interpretation. Interpretation. Interpretation means an explanation or opinion of what something means. Example: the rules are vague and open to interpretation. Ample. Ample. Ample means enough or more than enough, or especially of body size, large. Example: there will be ample opportunity for everyone here to speak. Sufficient. Sufficient. Sufficient means enough for a particular purpose. Example: the company did not have sufficient funds to pay for the goods it had received. Elaboration. Elaboration. Elaboration means containing a lot of connected parts or many complicated details. Example: they had created elaborate computer programs to run the system. Pristine. Pristine. Pristine means original and pure, not spoiled or worn from use. Example: the car seemed to be in pristine condition. Ordinary. Ordinary. Ordinary means not different, special, or unexpected in any way. Usual. Example: his music was of the sort that ordinary Americans could relate to. Trapped. Trapped. Trapped means a device or hole for catching and holding things. Example: a bear was caught in the trap. Grant. 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 Grant means to agree to give, something that was asked for. Example: we are prepared to grant your wishes. Enigmatic. Enigmatic. Enigmatic means mysterious and impossible to understand completely. Example: the Mona Lisa has a famously enigmatic smile. Mysterious. Mysterious. Mysterious means strange, not known, or not understood. Example: she's an actress whose inner life has remained mysterious despite the many interviews she has given. Enormous. Enormous. Enormous means extremely large or great. Example, he ate an enormous helping of pasta. Frightening, frightening. Frightening means making you feel fear. Frightening can also mean extreme. Example, my car insurance payments are frightening. Configuration, configuration. Configuration means the particular arrangement of the parts of something or of a group of things. Example, the two-lane configuration of the roads leads to congestion. Utilization, utilization. Utilization means the use of something. Example, the audit found there could be a better utilization of resources throughout the company. Legendary, legendary. Legendary means of or relating to an old story or set of stories from ancient times, or the stories that people tell about a famous event or person. Also means of or describing someone who is very famous and admired, usually because of an ability in a particular area. Example, he is the legendary magician Houdini. Astonishing, astonishing. Astonishing means very surprising. Example, her first novel enjoyed an astonishing success. Infrequent, infrequent. Infrequent means not happening often, rare. Example, Wiggins made one of his infrequent trips to Manhattan. Puzzling, puzzling. Puzzling means difficult to explain or to understand. Example, it's a rather puzzling film. Discern, discern. Discern means to see, recognize, or understand something that is not clear. Example, I could just discern a figure in the darkness. Exceedingly, exceedingly. Exceedingly means to a very great degree, extremely. Example, he is exceedingly rich. Attempt, attempt. Attempt means to try to do something, especially something difficult. Example, he attempted to escape through a window. Colotype, colotype. Colotype means a print made using the colotype process. Example, a complete edition of the Hebrew Fragments in the Colotype Facsimile was published jointly by the Oxford and Cambridge presses. Etching, etching. Etching means the act of etching, a picture produced by printing from a metal plate that has been etched with acid. Example, in the 17th and 18th centuries, the processes of scratching, engraving, and etching were brought to great perfection. Engraving, engraving. Engraving means a picture or design printed on paper from a hard, usually metal surface in which cuts have been made, or this process. Example, the book describes the art of engraving. Authenticity, authenticity. Authenticity means the quality of being real or true. Example, digital signatures ensure the authenticity of your documents. Genuineness, genuineness. Genuineness means being what something or someone appears or claims to be. Real, not false. Example, genuine leather, a genuine masterpiece. Reluctant, reluctant. Reluctant means not wanting to do something and therefore slow to do it. Example, she had trouble sleeping but was reluctant to take sleeping pills. Embarrassed, embarrassed. Embarrassed means feeling ashamed or shy. Example, she felt embarrassed about undressing in front of the doctor. Coordinate, coordinate. Coordinate means to work with or communicate with the different people, groups, or pieces involved in a large product. Example, thank you for having you coordinate a schedule, and let's coordinate the details separately. The next word is allusion. Allusion means a brief or indirect reference. Example, he made some allusion to the years they lived apart. The last word for today, modification. Modification. Modification means something that is changed slightly, especially to improve it or make it more acceptable or less extreme. Example, behavior modification. Example 2. Several modifications have been made in the proposals. Thank you for getting the 264 words done. I am so happy to be here with you all the time. Our company, Gloture, means global culture. You are learning TOEFL, which means you are on the way to be an international talent. Not only for the language, you are going to learn more stuff about culture. Trust me, it's going to be fun. And my company, Gloture, will give you more useful learning resources and learning videos. And I guess I'll see you next time in a new project. Best wishes for your TOEFL test!